The three men had Sarah Brooks pinned against the diner counter, and Jake Morrison was moving toward them when her eyes found his. "Don't," she whispered, her free hand reaching out to stop him, even as the tallest thug tightened his grip on her wrist. "Please, Jake. You don't need to do anything." Every customer had gone silent. His 7-year-old son stood frozen in the booth, watching his father take one more step forward. Jake's hands hung loose at his sides, the kind of loose that looked casual but wasn't, the kind a carpenter shouldn't know. "I only need to know that I love you," he said quietly. Sarah's face crumpled. The three men burst out laughing, and Jake's stance shifted into something that made the laughter die in their throats. 3 years of hiding, 30 seconds until everything burned. Saturday mornings at the Sunrise Diner had become Jake Morrison's favorite ritual. Same booth every week, the one with cracked vinyl that faced the door, because old habits died hard and some instincts never went away. Tyler sat beside him, chocolate milk mustache forming above his lip, hands moving in excited gestures as he talked about school. 7 years old, bright blue eyes like his mother's, gap-toothed smile that could light up a room. The kid who'd already lost too much, but somehow still believed the world was good. Sarah Brooks appeared at their table, coffee pot in one hand, smile warm and genuine. Chocolate chip pancakes for the young man, lumberjack special for Dad. She already knew. She always knew. 6 months of Saturday mornings had built a rhythm between them, something comfortable and terrifying all at once. "You're always right, Miss Sarah," Tyler beamed. The kid had been asking for weeks when they'd invite Sarah to dinner, when she'd come to his soccer games, when she'd be part of their family. 7-year-olds didn't understand things like guilt and unworthiness and secrets too heavy to share. Jake watched Sarah walk back to the counter, the way she moved with easy grace, the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled at Tyler. He'd been in love with her for 3 months now, maybe longer, though he'd never said it out loud. Never let himself get close enough to risk it, because Jake Morrison the carpenter was a lie, and the truth underneath would destroy whatever fragile thing was growing between them. "Dad, you should ask her on a date," Tyler whispered, leaning across the table. "Tyler, I'm serious. You like her. She likes you. That's how it works, right?" Jake wanted to tell him it wasn't that simple, that some men carried shadows too dark to bring into the light, that Sarah deserved better than someone who woke up screaming, who saw a 7-year-old Afghan boy's face every time he closed his eyes. But Tyler was 7 and hopeful, and Jake couldn't dim that light. "Maybe someday, bud." That's when Jake noticed them. 3 men in the corner booth, leather jackets and hard eyes, the kind who didn't belong in a place like this. Old training kicked in automatically. Threat assessment, exit routes, weapons check. The tall one had a knife bulge at his hip. The tattooed one kept his right hand in his jacket. The third, wiry and twitchy, looked high on something. Jake forced himself to relax. This was Oregon, not Kandahar. He was a carpenter now, a single dad trying to give his son a normal life. Whatever these men were doing here wasn't his problem. Then Sarah walked past their table, and the tall one grabbed her wrist. The diner went silent. Sarah's coffee pot tilted, hot liquid splashing on the floor. Tyler's hand found Jake's arm, small fingers digging in. Every muscle in Jake's body went taut. "Sarah Brooks," the tall man said, voice carrying. "We've been looking for you." Sarah tried to pull back, but his grip tightened. "I don't know you." "No, but we know your brother, Marcus Brooks. He owes some people a lot of money, 20,000 to be exact, and he's disappeared." Marcus is an adult. Whatever he owes is his problem, not mine. Family debts run in the blood, sweetheart. Your brother skipped town, which means the debt falls to you. 3 days to come up with the money, or we start taking payment in other ways. The tattooed one leaned forward, smile ugly. Jake was moving before the conscious decision formed. Years of training, muscle memory, being the guy who ran toward danger. He was halfway out of the booth when Sarah's eyes found his, wide and pleading. "Don't," she whispered, free hand reaching toward him even as the tall man tightened his grip. "Please, Jake, you don't need to do anything." And Jake understood. She knew. Somehow Sarah knew he wasn't just a carpenter, that there was something dangerous underneath. And she was trying to protect him, trying to keep his secret safe, even while she was the one in danger. Every customer was watching. Tyler had stood up, young face pale with confusion and fear. The three men were looking at Jake like he was an annoyance they were about to swat away. And Sarah was looking at him like she was afraid of what he might do, afraid of what it might cost him. Jake's hands hung loose at his sides. To anyone else, he looked relaxed, casual, but his stance had shifted into something else, something he'd sworn 3 years ago he'd never be again. "Let her go," Jake said quietly. The tall man, Danny, looked at him with amusement. "Or what, carpenter? You gonna build me a birdhouse?" His friends laughed, but there was uncertainty in it now. They were seeing what Sarah saw, that Jake Morrison wasn't moving like a carpenter, that his eyes had gone flat and cold. Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. "Jake, please. They can't know about you." She was right. If he did this, questions would be asked, his background checked, his past exposed. Tyler would learn things no 7-year-old should know. The quiet life they'd built would crash down. But Sarah's wrist was turning purple under Danny's grip. Tyler was watching, waiting to see if his father was the kind of man who helped or who walked away. And Jake Morrison had already failed to protect innocent people once. He wasn't failing again. "I only need to know that I love you," he said, eyes never leaving Sarah's face. Sarah's face crumpled. Danny and his friends burst out laughing. And Jake's stance shifted one more degree into something that made the laughter die. "Dad?" Tyler's voice was small and scared. Jake didn't look at his son. Couldn't, because if he saw the fear in Tyler's eyes, he might lose his nerve. Instead, he took one more step toward the counter. Danny's smile faltered. "You really want to do this? There's 3 of us." "I know," Jake said, and moved. 3 years hadn't slowed him down as much as he'd thought. His body remembered what his mind had tried to forget. He closed the distance in 2 strides, grabbed Danny's wrist with one hand, while the other went to the pressure point at the base of the thumb. Seal technique, designed to force release without breaking bones. Danny let go of Sarah with a yelp. Sarah stumbled back, free but shaking. Tyler was shouting from the booth, customers scrambling away from the violence. Danny swung at Jake's head with his free hand, rage replacing amusement. Jake ducked under the wild punch, muscle memory taking over. Danny was big and strong but untrained, telegraphing his moves, fighting with emotion instead of discipline. Jake could have ended it in 3 seconds, but he was trying to de-escalate, trying to control without serious injury. "Walk away," Jake said, blocking another punch. "Just walk away." But the tattooed one was flanking from the left, while the wiry one pulled a knife. Jake realized this wasn't ending peacefully. These men had come to send a message. They couldn't leave without saving face. The knife changed everything. Jake's training kicked into higher gear. He caught the wiry one's wrist as the knife came in, twisted hard enough to hear bones crack. The blade clattered to the floor. "Dad!" Tyler was running toward him, and Jake's heart stopped, because the tattooed one had pulled a gun, swinging from Jake toward his son, and every nightmare Jake had ever had condensed into this single moment of terror. Jake threw himself toward Tyler, caught him around the waist, crashed into a booth as the gun went off. The bullet shattered the window behind where they'd been standing. Glass rained down like broken stars. Tyler was crying, clutching Jake's shirt, and Jake was covering him with his body while calculating his next move. Danny grabbed the gun from the tattooed one. "Outside. You want to be a hero? Let's take this where your kid won't get caught in the crossfire." It was a trap. Jake knew it. But they had a gun, and Tyler was in danger, and his options had narrowed to a single point. get the threat away from his son. "Stay here," he told Tyler, pulling back to look at his son's tear-stained face. "Stay in this booth. Don't move." "Dad, no!" "Tyler!" Jake grabbed his shoulders. "I need you to be brave. I'll be right back." He stood before Tyler could argue, before he could see the lie in his father's eyes. The parking lot was cold and bright with morning sun. Danny and his friends followed Jake out, gun still in Danny's hand, pointed casually at Jake's chest. "You made a big mistake, Carpenter. What are you? Cop? Military?" Silence. "Definitely military. I've seen that look." Danny circled slowly. "Doesn't matter. We know where you live, where your kid goes to school. Jefferson Elementary, right? Second grade classroom on the south side." Everything in Jake went ice cold. The threat to Sarah had been bad. The threat to Tyler was something else entirely. "You go near my son. You'll what? You're outnumbered and outgunned. Walk away right now. Forget you saw us. And maybe we forget about the kid. Or try to be a hero, and Tyler Morrison becomes an orphan." Jake's vision narrowed. This was the moment he'd been avoiding for 3 years. The moment when the man he'd been and the man he was trying to be crashed into each other with nowhere to hide. He could walk away, take Tyler and run, leave Oregon, change names again, find another small town. Or he could fight, protect Sarah, stop these men, and accept that everything would come crashing down. The decision lasted less than a heartbeat, because Jake had walked away once before, had followed orders, and trusted bad intel, and killed innocent people. He wasn't walking away again. "I tried to warn you," he said quietly. Then he moved with the speed that only came from years of training and combat. The gun was priority. He feinted left, went right when Danny tracked him, got inside the weapon's range. His hand clamped on the gun barrel, forcing it up. His elbow drove into Danny's throat. The gun discharged into the sky. Jake ripped it from Danny's grip, ejected the magazine, cleared the chamber, threw all 3 pieces in different directions. Under 2 seconds. The tattooed one rushed from behind. Jake spun, caught the punch, used the man's momentum to flip him into the pavement. The wiry one came with another knife. Jake caught the wrist, twisted outward, drove his knee into the elbow. The joint bent wrong with a sickening pop. Danny was back up, throat bruised but eyes full of murder. "You're dead, and then we're going for your kid." Red filled Jake's vision. He'd promised himself after Kandahar he'd never let the violence take over again. But Danny had just threatened Tyler. The efficiency was brutal. When it was over, all 3 men were on the ground, alive but broken in ways that would take months to heal. Jake stood over them, breathing hard, blood on his knuckles that wasn't all his. Sirens in the distance. Questions would come. Everything was falling apart. Sarah burst from the diner, phone in hand. "Police are coming! Jake, you need to—" She stopped, seeing the scene. "You need to run!" But Danny was laughing despite his broken ribs. "Doesn't matter. We found you. We'll find you again. And next time—" "Next time, nothing." Sheriff Tom Brady's voice cut across the lot. The old man stood by his cruiser, hand on weapon, taking in the scene with 30 years of law enforcement calm. "Danny Kovich, should have known you'd crawl out from Portland eventually." Jake's shoulders sagged. Sheriff Brady was a good man, but thorough. Thorough men asked questions. "Witnesses say these men attacked you and threatened your son. That right?" Tom asked. "Yes, sir." "You move like someone with training. What kind, Jake?" This was it. The carefully constructed life of Jake Morrison, the carpenter, starting to unravel. "I need you to come to the station, take your statement, and we need to talk about who you really are." Tyler appeared in the doorway, ran across the lot and slammed into Jake's legs. "Dad, I was so scared." Jake knelt, pulled his son close. "I know, buddy, but you were brave. Are those bad men going to hurt Miss Sarah?" Over Tyler's head, Jake met Sarah's eyes. She was crying, looking at him like she'd never really seen him before. "No," Jake said firmly. "They're not going to hurt anyone." Danny's voice, weak but venomous. "This isn't over, soldier boy. We work for people you can't touch. Viktor Kozlov doesn't forget. You just signed death warrants for everyone you love." The name hit like a physical blow. Viktor Kozlov, Russian mob, ruthless and connected, the kind who would make good on threats. At the station, Tom set Tyler up in the break room with hot chocolate. Then he led Jake and Sarah into his office and closed the door. Tom sat behind his desk, pulled up something on his computer. Jacob Morrison. Moved here 3 years ago. Clean record. Model citizen. He looked up. Except Jacob Morrison didn't exist before 3 years ago. Your fingerprints are in the military database. Former Navy SEAL. You want to tell me why you're living in my town under an assumed name? Sarah's hand found Jake's under the table, grip tight. My real name is Jake Morrison. That's true. SEAL Team 6. Deployed 7 times. Jake forced the words out. February 2019. Kandahar Province. We got intel on a high-value target. Taliban commander. Weapons cache. Perfect op on paper. He paused. Intel was wrong. Tom waited. Family inside. Father, mother, 3 kids. 7, 4, and 18 months. Jake's voice cracked. I was team leader. I set the breaching charge. I gave the order. When the smoke cleared, they were all dead. Collateral damage, the report said. Not your fault, they said. They gave me a medal. I threw it in the ocean. The office was silent except for fluorescent lights humming. Sarah was crying quietly. Tom's expression had softened. The 7-year-old, his name was Aziz. I see him every night. He looked like Tyler. Same age, same. He couldn't finish. So you left, Tom said gently. I couldn't do it anymore. Resigned 3 months later. Rachel, my wife, was already sick. Cancer. She wanted Tyler to grow up somewhere quiet, somewhere his father wasn't a killer. She died 8 months after we moved here. I've been trying every day since to be the man she thought I could be. Sarah's arms were around him. Tom was looking at him with something like respect. Jake, you're not a killer. You're a soldier who was given bad information. What happened wasn't your fault. It was my team, my responsibility. And you've been punishing yourself ever since. But today, I saw a man protect innocent people. A father willing to die for his son. That's who you are. Kozlov's men threatened Tyler, threatened Sarah. They're going to come back. Tom sighed heavily. Kozlov's untouchable. We've been trying for years. Even if I arrest Danny for assault, he'll be out on bail in 48 hours. Kozlov will send more. Then what do I do? Run? No. Sarah's voice was fierce. We don't run. We fight. Sarah, these people. I understand you just risked everything to protect me. And I love you, Jake Morrison. Whatever you've done. You're not running. We figure this out together. Jake turned to Tom. I have $20,000. Money I saved from my SEAL days. What if we pay the debt? Tom shook his head. Men like Kozlov don't just want money. They want fear. You embarrass Danny in front of witnesses. Kozlov can't let that stand. So we wait for them to come back? There might be another way. What if you could get me evidence on Kozlov? Real evidence. Phone records. Financial documents. If we could build a case, I could get the FBI involved. Put him away. I'm a carpenter, not an investigator. No. You're a Navy SEAL. You infiltrate. You gather intelligence. You complete impossible missions. Sarah stiffened. You're asking him to go back? To become that person again? I'm asking him to use his skills to protect the people he loves, to stop a criminal who's hurt countless others. The words hit Jake hard. Tom was right. Maybe the way forward wasn't to forget what he'd been trained to do, but to use it for something better. It's suicide, Sarah said. Kozlov's operation is huge. Jake would never get close. I've done harder missions, tougher targets, worse odds. You don't have a team. You don't have backup. You'll be alone. I'll have something I didn't have in Kandahar. A reason. I'm protecting my son. Protecting you. That makes all the difference. Jake, no. We'll leave town. He'll find us. We'd be looking over our shoulders forever. Tyler would grow up afraid. Jake's voice was gentle but firm. I need you to do something. Take Tyler to my cabin. Address is in my truck's GPS. Safe code is Tyler's birthday. There's money, documents, a burner phone. If I don't come back in 48 hours, use it all. Run. Jake, promise me you'll protect Tyler if I can't. She was sobbing, but nodded. Promise. But you have to come back. However broken, however damaged, come back to us. We need you alive more than we need you to be a hero. Jake pulled her close. I spent 3 years asking what I needed to know to deserve a second chance. If I could be a good father, a good man, if I could earn forgiveness. He pulled back to look at her. But you showed me something today. When Danny had you, you told me not to intervene. You were protecting me even though you were in danger. You loved me enough to risk yourself for my secret. And that's when I realized I only need to know that I love you. Everything else, the guilt and fear and doubt, it doesn't change that. And if I love you, I have to protect you. Sarah kissed him hard. Then be brave enough to come back too. The deputy knocked. Sheriff? The kid's asking for his dad. Tyler was in the break room, hot chocolate forgotten. When he saw Jake, he ran and crashed into him. Dad, are you okay? I'm okay, buddy. But I need to talk to you about something important. Jake knelt to eye level. You know how in your superhero comics, the hero has to go on a dangerous mission? Slow nod. I have to do something like that. Go away for a little while to make sure those bad men can't hurt you or Miss Sarah. I need you to be very brave. How long? 2 days. Maybe less. Miss Sarah's going to take you somewhere safe, and I'm going to handle the bad guys. But what if you don't come back? Like Mom? Jake pulled Tyler tight. I'm coming back. I promise. But Tyler, I need to tell you something. Your dad made a big mistake once, in the war. I was trying to help people, but I made the wrong choice and innocent people got hurt. Got killed. And I've been so scared since then. Scared of making another mistake. Scared of not being good enough for you. But you're the best dad. I'm a dad who makes mistakes, who's broken in some ways, but I'm trying every day to be better. You are a hero, Dad. You saved Miss Sarah. And now I'm going to make sure she stays safe, that you stay safe. Tyler threw his arms around Jake's neck. I love you, Dad, even if you made mistakes. You're still my hero. As they drove away, Sarah at the wheel, Tyler waving from the back. Jake watched until the truck disappeared. Then he got into his own vehicle and headed toward Portland, toward the most dangerous mission of his life. The informant's name was Gary Wells. Tom had warned Jake he was paranoid, jumpy, still scared of Kozlov, but he knew the operation inside out. Jake knocked at 8 p.m. Chains rattled. The door opened a crack. Who is it? Tom Brady sent me. Kozlov problem. Brady should know better. A thin man in his 40s with haunted eyes appeared. Kozlov's got eyes everywhere. I'm on a tight timeline. I need information. I'm willing to pay. How much? 5,000. Cash. For everything you know. The door opened wider. You're crazy. Nobody goes after Kozlov and lives. Then I guess I'm crazy. Jake stepped inside. I need to get close enough to gather evidence. Gary laughed. Broken. You in what army? Kozlov's got 20 guys minimum. Ex-military, ex-Spetsnaz. You'll never get past them. Tell me about his routine. Club Velvet. Downtown. Friday and Saturday nights, 9 to 2. Office on 3rd floor. That's where he keeps files. Safe. Computers. Security? 20 guys. Cameras, metal detectors, panic rooms. Gary shook his head. You'll never get in. They talked for hours. Gary explained the organization, key players, vulnerabilities. By 11 p.m., Jake had a plan. There's a shipment tomorrow night. Warehouse on the docks. Kozlov handles big ones personally. He'll have his laptop, keeps everything on it. How many guards? 10, maybe 12, plus Kozlov and Dmitri, his bodyguard. Jake nodded slowly. If I can get the laptop, copy files, get out. You can't. Even if you get past guards, Dmitri never leaves his side. And Kozlov's got a panic button. One press and 20 more guys show up. So I make sure he doesn't press it. Gary grabbed Jake's arm. I've seen what happens to people who cross Kozlov. They don't just die, they die slowly. And everyone they love dies too. Walk away. I can't. At the door, Gary called out. I had a daughter, Emily. Kozlov made an example when I skimmed money to buy her medicine. She was 9. His voice went dead. If you pull this off, remember, Emily. Make it count. I will. Jake spent the night in his truck, going through Gary's documents, planning the operation. His phone buzzed at 2 a.m. Sarah's number. Tyler's asleep. I'm not. Please tell me you're safe. Safe. Gathering intel. How's the cabin? Quiet. I keep thinking about what you said, about only needing to know that you love me. Still true. Jake, I'm scared. What if this goes wrong? You won't lose me. I'm coming back. We're going to have our chance. Promise. Jake stared at the word. Promise. I love you, Sarah Brooks. I love you too. Come home. The warehouse was exactly as Gary described. Jake watched from a distance, counting guards, noting shift changes. The shipment was scheduled for 10 p.m. Kozlov would arrive at 9:30. Jake's plan: get close to Kozlov, get the laptop, disappear. Classic infiltration. The problem was becoming invisible. Gary suggested posing as delivery driver, but that wouldn't get past the first checkpoint. The answer came at 8 when he saw a catering truck pull up. Food delivery. Waved through security with barely a glance. Jake followed the truck, waited at a red light, approached the driver's window. Excuse me, I think you dropped this. Held up his wallet. The driver, college kid, rolled down the window. That's not. Jake's hand shot through, pressure point on the neck. The kid slumped. Jake dragged him out, zip-tied him, left him behind a dumpster. Not elegant, but effective. Jake put on the uniform, drove toward the warehouse. Security waved him through after checking food containers. Inside, organized chaos. Workers moving crates, forklifts beeping, voices in Russian and English. Jake delivered food, keeping his head down. Found a bathroom, changed into janitor's coveralls from his backpack. Grabbed mop and bucket from supply closet. Started working toward offices. Kozlov arrived at 9:25. Tall, silver-haired, expensive suit, flanked by Dmitri. Headed straight for second-floor office. Jake mopped his way to stairs. A guard stopped him. Where you going? Boss said spill upstairs. Coffee or something. The guard checked a clipboard, shrugged. Make it quick. Upstairs, the corridor was empty. Jake could hear voices from the office. Kozlov and Dmitri discussing the shipment. The laptop would be in there. But Dmitri never left Kozlov's side. Jake pulled the fire alarm. Sirens blaring, workers shouting, people running. Dmitri burst out, weapon drawn, scanning. Kozlov followed, cursing in Russian. They headed for stairs. Jake slipped into the office. Laptop on desk. He pulled a USB drive from his pocket, the kind Tom's tech contact provided, designed to clone hard drives in 90 seconds. Plugged it in, hit the button. Progress bar started moving. 60 seconds. Dmitri would realize false alarm any moment. 45 seconds. Shouting from downstairs. 30 seconds. Footsteps on stairs. Heavy. Fast. 15 seconds. Door opening. Jake yanked the USB, pocketed it, dove behind the desk as Dmitri entered. The big man swept the room, hand on weapon. Dmitri walked to window, pulled out phone. False alarm, boss. Checking cameras. Jake waited until Dmitri turned to the laptop. then rolled out and slipped through the door. He made it to stairs when Dimitri's roar came from above. "Intruder!" Jake ran, threw coveralls aside, sprinting for exit. Guards moving toward him, reaching for weapons. He couldn't fight them all. Ran straight for fire exit. The door burst open. Night air. Behind him, guards pouring through. Jake sprinted across parking lot toward his truck 3 blocks away. Bullets pinged off pavement. His lungs burned. Old knee screamed. But he kept running. Made it to truck. Keyed ignition. Peeled out as guards rounded corner. More shots. Back window shattered. Then he was on the main road, losing himself in traffic. He'd done it. The USB drive in his pocket contained Kozlov's files. Jake drove until he found an abandoned lot called Tom. "I got it." "Jesus, Jake. Reports of shots fired. Are you hit?" "No. But they know someone was there." "Get to the station. We need to analyze that drive before—" His phone buzzed with another call. Sarah. She wasn't supposed to call unless emergency. "Tom, I need to— go." Jake switched calls. "Sarah," her voice shaking. "Jake, they found us. Danny's here with someone and they're—" Crash in background. Tyler screaming. "Jake, help us!" The line went dead. Jake's world went white with terror. Tyler, Sarah, the cabin. He'd been so careful. But Danny had found them anyway. He called Tom back. "They've got Sarah and Tyler. The cabin. I'm going." "Jake, wait. Let me send—" "There's no time. 30 minutes from town. I'm 15 away. Send backup, but I'm not waiting." "You go in alone? You'll get killed." "I've lived with one dead child on my conscience for 3 years. I'm not adding my son." Jake's voice was ice. "Send backup. I'm going in." He drove like hell itself was chasing him. The cabin appeared in his headlights. Dark, no movement. Black SUV parked outside. Jake killed lights. Parked a quarter-mile away. Approached through trees. Voices inside. Male, aggressive. Sarah's voice, defiant. Tyler crying. Jake had no weapons except tire iron and hunting knife from the truck. Against how many men? Smart play was wait for backup. But Tyler was crying. Jake circled the cabin, staying in trees. Through window, Danny, bruised but mobile, standing over Sarah on the floor. Another man holding Tyler against the wall. A third man, older, well-dressed, sitting in Jake's chair. "Where is he?" the well-dressed man said. Russian accent. "Your boyfriend. The one who invaded my property." Sarah's voice steady despite fear. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie." The man, Kozlov, gestured to Danny. "Hit her!" Danny drew back his fist. Jake crashed through window, an explosion of glass, tire iron swinging toward Danny's head. Impact solid. Danny dropped. The man holding Tyler swung his gun. Jake was already moving, using Danny's body as cover. Knife came out, fast. Suddenly, the man was bleeding from thigh, gun skittering across floor. "Dad!" Tyler's voice, relief and terror. Jake scooped up the gun, pointed at Kozlov. "Let them go." Kozlov smiled, cold, calculated. "Brave, stupid, but brave. You're the SEAL, the one who killed a family in Afghanistan. Let them go. Or what? You'll shoot me, with my men surrounding this cabin?" Kozlov stood slowly. "You've lost." Jake's mind raced. Kozlov was right. Even shooting him meant consequences. More men, endless retaliation. Unless the USB drive. "Actually, I think you're the one who's lost. I have copies of your financial records, communications, shipment logs, everything from your laptop. And in—" Jake checked his watch. "About 3 minutes. It gets uploaded to FBI servers automatically unless I stop it." Kozlov's smile faltered. "Bluffing. Want to check your laptop? See if anything's missing?" Jake pulled out the USB. "This is your empire, and I'm destroying it. Even with evidence, I'll be out on bail. Maybe. But your operation? Done. Every corrupt cop, every partner, they'll turn on you to save themselves. Jake stepped forward. You're finished. Only question is whether you want assault and extortion, or kidnapping and murder too. Sirens in distance. Tom's backup arriving. Kozlov heard them. Eyes went flat. This isn't over. Yeah, it is. Jake's voice was tired. You threatened my son. That was your mistake, because I'll burn my whole life down to protect him. Tom Brady's voice from doorway, weapon drawn, deputies behind him. Victor Kozlov, you're under arrest. The next hour was chaos. Deputies securing scene, paramedics checking Sarah and Tyler, FBI arriving. Jake sat on porch steps, watching, feeling adrenaline drain. Tyler came and sat beside him. Dad, you saved us? Yeah, buddy. Are the bad men coming back? Jake looked at Tom talking to FBI agents. Tom nodded. No, they're going away for a long time. Because you're a hero. Jake pulled his son close. No, I'm just a dad who loves you. That's all. Sarah sat on his other side, hand finding his. They didn't speak, just sat watching police lights paint the night, knowing they'd survived, knowing the running was over. 2 weeks later, Jake sat in court and watched Kozlov's bail denied. The laptop evidence was everything. Detailed criminal records, proof of corruption, names and dates. The FBI arrested 17 people, more indictments coming. Danny flipped on Kozlov for reduced sentence. Sarah's brother's debt was erased. Marcus was found, brought home, sent to rehab. Jake's past became public. Newspapers ran stories about the local hero's dark secret. Some people avoided him, but others understood. Veterans, parents, people who knew good people could make terrible mistakes and still deserve second chances. Tyler had questions about the war, about Aziz, about why Daddy had nightmares. Jake answered honestly, and Tyler said simply, You made a mistake, but then you saved me and Miss Sarah. That makes you a hero. Jake still saw Aziz's face at night, still woke, gasping. But now Sarah's hand would find his in the dark. Tyler's breathing would hum from the next room, and Jake would remember. He couldn't undo the past, but he could build a better present. He started attending Veterans Support Group, talking about Kandahar, about guilt, about learning to forgive yourself. It helped. Not enough to erase pain, but enough to make it bearable. 3 months after Kozlov's arrest, Jake took Sarah to the diner. Same booth, same Saturday morning. Tyler was at a friend's house. I keep thinking about that day, Sarah said, when you said you only needed to know that you loved me. Still true. I know, but there's something I need to know. She looked at him with those green eyes. Are you ready? For us? For building a life that isn't about running or surviving? Jake reached into his pocket, pulled out a small box. Inside a ring. I've been ready since that morning. Took me 3 months to find the courage. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Jake Morrison, I'm still broken, still haunted. I wake up screaming sometimes. I can't promise I'll ever be completely whole. He opened the box. But I can promise I'll spend every day trying to be worthy of you, of Tyler, of the second chance I didn't think I deserved. You stupid, brave man, Sarah was crying and laughing. Yes, of course, yes. Jake slid the ring on her finger. She kissed him in the diner, where everything changed, where love had given him courage to fight, where he'd learned redemption wasn't about forgetting sins, but choosing to be better. Mrs. Patterson started clapping. Other customers joined. Tyler burst through the door. Sarah had texted him and launched himself at them both. Does this mean Miss Sarah is my mom now? Sarah looked at Jake, then Tyler. If you want me to be. I always wanted a mom again, and Dad's better when you're around. He smiles more. 6 months later, they married in a small church ceremony. Tom walked Sarah down the aisle. Tyler was ring bearer, serious in his tiny suit. When the pastor asked if anyone objected, a veteran from Jake's support group called out, We support this marriage." Everyone laughed. Jake and Sarah bought a house with a big yard. Jake continued carpentry, but also started teaching woodworking to veterans. Sarah opened a catering business. Life wasn't perfect. Jake still had nightmares, still went to therapy, still carried Kandahar's guilt. But he also had mornings where Tyler climbed into bed between them, chattering about school. Had evenings cooking dinner together, laughing at Tyler's terrible jokes. Had moments looking at his wife and son thinking, "I don't deserve this, but I'll spend my life trying to." One Sunday, a young veteran came to Jake's workshop. Same haunted look Jake recognized from his mirror. Same weight in shoulders. "Tom Brady said you might understand," the veteran said quietly. "Said you've been where I am." Jake set down his tools. "What's your name?" "David Fletcher. Just back from Syria. And I can't—" Voice broke. "It's okay." Jake pulled up a chair. "You did something you can't take back. Something that haunts you, wondering if you'll ever live with it." David's eyes widened. "How did you know?" "Because I've been there. Still am some days. I killed a family. Civilians. Afghanistan. 7-year-old boy who looked like my son. Accident. Bad intel. Not my fault according to everyone official. But they're dead because of me. How do you keep going?" Jake thought about Sarah's smile, Tyler's laughter. Morning light through kitchen windows, small moments that taught him survival wasn't the same as living. You don't forget. Don't forgive yourself, not really. But you make a choice every day to be better than your worst moment. To use what you learned, what you survived, to help others. To love harder. To fight for good things. Jake met David's eyes. You turn your sins into lessons, your pain into purpose, your past into a path forward. That works? Some days better than others. But yeah, it works. They talked for hours. Jake told him about support group, therapy, the long road of learning to live with yourself. When David left, he looked less broken, more hopeful. Sarah found Jake in the workshop that evening. "You helped him." "Maybe, I hope so." She wrapped arms around him from behind. "You're a good man, Jake Morrison." "I'm trying to be good. There's a difference." "Is there?" She turned him to face her. "You save people. Teach people. Love people. You're a father, husband, friend. What else does good mean?" Jake thought about the distance from Kandahar to this workshop, from hiding to healing, from running to building. Maybe you're right. Maybe good isn't about never making mistakes. Maybe it's what you do after, how you choose to grow. And who have you chosen to be? He pulled her close. A man who loves his family, who helps when he can, who's done terrible things, but tries every day to do better ones. A man who finally understands what you taught me that day. What's that? That I only need to know that I love you. Everything else, guilt, fear, doubt, it's still there. But love is bigger. Love gives you courage to face it, to become someone worth loving back. Sarah kissed him. Through the window, Tyler played in the yard, his laughter carrying on evening air. Normal life. Beautiful life. The kind Jake hadn't thought he deserved, but had fought to earn. That night, Jake stood in Tyler's doorway watching him sleep. Tyler curled with his stuffed animal, peaceful and safe and loved. Jake thought about Aziz, the boy who never got another morning. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "but I'm trying, raising a good kid, helping broken people, building instead of destroying. I hope that counts for something." No answer came, but Jake hadn't expected one. Redemption wasn't about being forgiven by those you'd hurt. It was about choosing to be better every day, even when hard, even when you didn't feel you deserved it. He walked to the bedroom where Sarah waited, climbed into bed beside his wife. When she curled against him, he felt something shift. Not healing, he'd never fully heal, but something like peace. Something like hope. "I love you," he whispered. "I know. And I'm so proud of you, for fighting, for surviving, for choosing us. I'll always choose you." Outside, Oregon night was quiet and dark. Inside, Jake Morrison slept without nightmares. And when morning came, he woke ready to face another day. Ready to be a father, husband, friend. Ready to carry his past without letting it define his future. Ready to prove love could be stronger than guilt. That hope could survive even darkest memories. That broken people could still build beautiful lives. Because that's what he'd learned from Sarah, from Tyler, from the long road of redemption. You don't need to know you're forgiven. You don't need to forget what you've done. You only need to know that you're loved. And from that love, everything else can grow. The weight never fully lifts. The faces don't fade. Aziz's eyes still visit Jake's dreams. But now, when he wakes, gasping, Sarah's hand finds his in the dark. Tyler's breathing hums from the next room. And Jake remembers. He can't undo the past, but he can build a better present. One choice at a time. One person saved. One promise kept. Redemption isn't a destination. It's the daily decision to be worthy of the love you've been given. To turn your sins into lessons, your pain into purpose, your past into a path forward. Jake Morrison finally understands. You don't need to know you're forgiven. You only need to know that you're loved. And from that love, everything else can grow.